All right, up until now, we have been able to find sine, cosine, and tangent by using all the values on the unit circle and in our special triangles. So that has quite a few values. We know pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 3, pi over 2, and on around the unit circle. All those values, we can do sine and cosine without a calculator. So when the electronic cloud comes and hovers in our land and paralyzes all our electronics, then they will pay us big bucks to find these things without a calculator. So till that day, we have all this time to practice, and it turns out that what I'm going to show you today will add to your repertoire of what trig functions you can find without a calculator, and these are ones that aren't on the unit circle. So let's see how that might work. I was wondering, and I'm sure you were, what is the cosine of 75 degrees? So the cosine of 75, can I think of it like I know the sine, like pi over 6 is 30, pi over 4 is 45, pi over 3, isn't it amazing? We almost think in radians better than degrees now. 30, 45, 60 is pi over 3, 90, and as we keep going around, 120, 135, and so on. These continue around in the unit circle, so these are ones that I know. So can I take some of these values that I know and either add them together or subtract them and come up with 75? Well, it's kind of obvious that the first two add together to become 75. So I'm going to rewrite cosine of 75 as cosine of 30 plus 45. So why did I do that? Because I have a trig ID that will expand this. I don't know the cosine of 75, but I know cosine and sine of 30 and 45, and I have a trig ID that will use these that I do know to get this one that I don't know. So if this is my A and this was my B, we have found that this is cosine of A plus B is cosine A, which is in this case 30. I'm going to run out of room here, so excuse me. Numbers that I know. Cosine 30 times cosine 45. Then recall cosine, it works with the opposite sign, SIGN sine 30, sine 45. And I'm smushing. Alright, so you have that on your paper. This says cosine 30, cosine 45 minus sine 30 times sine 45. So this is my cosine of 75. That's what I'm looking for. What's cosine of 30? Well, this is my 30 degrees. So square root of 3 over 2 is this. Now I'm up to cosine of 45. It's not written on there, but you'll see it's square root of 2 over 2. If you check your unit circle or your chant, sine of 30 is 1/2, and sine of 45 root 2. Alright, so cosine of 75 is square root of 6, that's multiplying top times top, bottoms times bottom, minus square root of 2 over 4. They have like denominators, so I get square root of 6 minus square root of 2 over 4. That is the exact value. It's even much better than what you get on the calculator, because it'll just give you some demonic decimal, which is an approximation, and this is exact. So you can pat yourself on the back. You are beyond the calculator. Alright, let's do one in radians, and that's all I have for you tonight. Alright, so once again, rolling around in your head are all the degrees and radians that we know. So we know pi over 6, pi over 3, We know sine and cosine of pi over 4, pi over 2, and on around the unit circle. So what if I ask you to find the sine of pi over 12? In honor of Pi Day, we have all these pi's, and I am going to recognize that I can get to pi over 12 by, I think, subtracting these two. So, sine of pi over 3, which is larger than pi over 4. Alright, so I believe this is 4/12 and 3/12. So when I subtract those, I do get 1/12. So this is equivalent. I know the sine and cosine of these, so I'm going to use the trig ID, sine of A minus B. So if I recall right, that was sine A cosine B minus cosine A sine B. Alright, so putting in these values, pi over 3 minus pi over 4 is pi over 12. And sine of A, my A is pi over 3. My B is pi over 4. Minus cosine of A is pi over 3. And sine of pi over 4. And get rid of these little confusing lists here. Kind of gets in the way. Alright, so sine of pi over 3. This one was pi over 3. Sine is square root of 3 over 2. Cosine is square root of 2 over 2. Minus cosine of pi over 3, 1/2. Sine of pi over 4 is not written, but I know it's square root of 2 over 2. So we get square root of 6 minus square root of 2 over the common 4. So the common denominator of 4. So we'll be practicing some of those tomorrow. So bring these trig IDs with you. Until then, have a nice night.